Yeah, there's a chance that we get to the end of this and I've done this all completely wrong, but I think I understand. Hey guys, welcome back to the Sipcast. It's Friday. That means it's movie minutes. A few weeks ago, when it was Star Wars week, we had a little debate, and we want to bring back the debate format. So Jack and I have a little discrepancy here. Jack loves the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love the Star Wars universe. And we're going to talk about which one's better. I don't know, honestly, if we'll come to any conclusions. I feel like we're both pretty stuck where we're at on this debate.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
I love the MCU. I think it's done some really great things. It's built a universe that can't be compared to in modern day Hollywood. But I also love the Star Wars universe, and I think that it's also had some really great moments. But if you look at just the scope, and the reach, I think that the Marvel universe in recent history, in the time that the movies have been being made, because I can't speak to the 70s and the 80s, because I'm sure Star Wars was all the jazz in the 70s and 80s, and you also had fans coming up from there. Marvel didn't have hardly any of that in the movie industry at that time.
Right.
But you look at Marvel now, you look at the amount of movies they had, you look at the openings they have, and it is insane. They might not have as old an audience or as diverse an audience as Star Wars. Age-wise, I think ethnicity-wise is probably about the same. Age-wise, they might not have as much of a diverse of an audience, but you have insanely loyal fans. Bigger character arcs, I think the only character arc that could be compared to it in Star Wars would be Anakin's. Maybe Luke's, but the only significant character arc you see in Star Wars, significant through the course of all the movies, is Anakin. But you look at somebody like Iron Man, and they have over a 10 movie story arc.
Right.
That's insane to me. You look at somebody like, I don't know, Captain America. They have a giant character arc. They have 3 solo movies in there and a ton of other movies. And they're just expanding and growing. And the fact that it's so expandable. I think you look at Star Wars and they're people are already tired of the formula that Star Wars has created. So they need to expand and grow out and create new things. But the thing is, people aren't as likely to look at these new things because they're not going to have some of the iconic Star Wars feels to them. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point, Jack. I think that a lot of the same criticisms can be leveled against both. I would say that Marvel has done a similar thing where, to me, the Marvel movies, I was really into them sort of during phase 1 of the MCU. And then I just found it to be so formulaic of okay, well, it's going to be superhero kind of origin story. Second movie is going to be learning something new about themselves, some sort of deeper past thing happening.
Hold up. Are you complaining to the MCU about being formulaic?
I am. So
what?
I'm just saying, here's what
Have
I'll
you
say.
seen Star Wars?
Bro, I think some of the same criticisms can come both ways. So I find the MCU, I don't know, I think ultimately we'll end up both kind of deadlocked right where we are. But I love the Star Wars story because I'm not big into superpowers, but I like the idea of the Force being kind of it's like a superpower, but it's more like an ability, and it's kind of it's almost a religion, which is kind of an interesting kind of twist on that. For me, it's kind of what I grew up with. I think for a lot of Star Wars fans, that's a huge part of it. But there is a lot of deep backstory, even not in the movies. There's tons of detail. Check out Wikipedia. That's a crazy website, and it's basically you can find out anything about any character, even if they were in one frame of a movie. Pages and pages and pages. of information, just of like their insane backstory.
Have you gone to YouTube and seen like the people that break down Marvel stuff?
Yeah, I have seen that too.
'Cause
And that's
they're
because there's comic
insane.
books and yeah. But I think especially coming up though, there is going to be a lot more like digital media in the sense of Star Wars stuff, because like we have movies, but like a lot of like the story honestly is like in books and comic books at this point that a lot of people haven't seen. They've just seen the movies. I personally love just the Star Wars is one continuous story. Marvel kind of has different fragmented stories and they all come together in the Avengers. I just find the Marvel jam to be kind of repetitive. I think it's like it's one person, you get their intro movie, then they join up with a group, they all kind of link together. I know Jack's not loving this, but
Because you're describing a Star Wars movie right now.
I know that's true, but that's kind of how it. But like there isn't just one Star Wars movie about like just about one character. I just find that whole superhero origin story, and obviously I'm not the best debater, so I don't know if I have a great argument, but I just find that sort of origin story a little bit repetitive. Like, oh, now they get their powers, now they like, yeah, and then now they all link up as a team, and then they like, I don't know, it just always kind of ends the same way.
I feel like the MCU is different in that way though, because they see what's repetitive, they see what people are tired of. Like you don't have an origin story for Spider-Man in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
Well, that's because there'd already been so many, and I know those are Sony, so we can't really connect those. But I think people are really tired of that, and now they're catching on. But what are we on? We're on the 4th phase of the MCU.
Yeah, and people are still, and they're getting more and more viewers.
That's true.
Like Star Wars, I feel like if you say that the MCU is formulaic, you could look at Star Wars and be like, episode 4, 5, and 6. You have a mirror with episode 1, 2, and 3, and then you have a mirror with episode 7, and then 8 was its own thing. We can all agree with that. And then 9. Like, it's almost formulaic to a fault, to where they have to bring the Emperor back. But that was a different argument. That was the Rise of Skywalker argument, where I was talking about how they pulled a bunch of strings, made a bunch of liberties to make it formulaic and make it match up with 4, 5, and 6.
I guess that's a fair argument. I think at the end of the day they're both formulaic in that way. I'm excited to see what's coming down the pipeline with new Marvel movies. I just feel like, I don't know, like I feel like the Black Widow movie is going to be very similar to like the Black Panther movie, and similar to like an Iron Man movie. They're all just kind of like, I don't know, it's always just like an origin story, and like they've kind of got like a sad backstory, and then they've got to like, I don't know. And that's my opinion.
Bro,
and so
tell me the difference between freaking Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, Luke Skywalker in the originals, and Rey in the sequels.
Well, and that's a fair criticism to level. Like they all really don't have parents. They're all like looking for something more. They find kind of a wise teacher or mentor. I think ultimately like they're both just kind of in the same boat. I think Star Wars and Marvel are kind of in a similar boat in my opinion.
Yeah, and I honestly think that the moves that Disney's making with Star Wars, I think Star Wars is going to look more like Marvel, because that's the cash cow.
Yeah.
That's the formula that's working. It would not surprise me at all. And I take this to credit Marvel. I like how they have all these individual stories that come together and weave a giant universe. I think that's the right way to do it. But I think that's what Disney's going to start turning into, where they're going to have isolated stories that all come together, because they're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to make some new stage either way before or way after the Skywalker saga.
That's fair. And ultimately it's like love to both the Star Wars communities and the Marvel communities. I watch all the Marvel movies. I love all the Marvel movies. They're good. I think it's just my personal preference that I like Star Wars better. But I do think there's going to be something like that coming down the pipeline. I think I just have a personal preference of liking kind of those intertwined stories all kind of carrying on as a saga. So like the idea of like the prequels, you see a lot of different plot lines going on. Same with the original trilogy, same with the sequels. it's all happening at the same time. It's not necessarily we're getting a Luke Skywalker movie and then a Han Solo movie and then a Princess Leia movie, and they all come together. They're all kind of happening simultaneously, and you see them kind of run into each other.
But I feel like that might have been a good idea. Who knows?
Who knows?
Like,
yeah, that's a fair point, Jack.
I mean, if you look at, I could see it being like they have a Solo, like they have Solo, which is hot garbage. But it is Han Solo's origin story. You make if Carrie Fisher. So well, I guess you don't even need Carrie Fisher anymore because they got a new actor to play Han Solo in the Solo movie. I could see them making an individual movie. I guess you couldn't have Leia's training because that happened after she met Luke. But you could have like all these like different, she's going around. She's a political figure in Star Wars, and then A New Hope is Luke's origin story. Like
I think that movie is going to be a rough movie. Same way Solo was a rough movie. It's like I don't know. I think that formula just doesn't work for Star Wars for some reason as well as it does for Marvel. Because like, don't get me wrong, I love Marvel movies. I think the formula works well for Marvel. I just am worried about the future and not working well for Star Wars for some reason.
I would. A movie I would love to see from Star Wars?
What?
It's just a Lando Solo movie.
Old Lando or Donald Glover Lando?
Oh, you don't want old Lando. That'd be a boring movie. You want Donald Glover Lando. You want Donald Glover Lando. You don't want freaking L3. You don't want him having the Millennium Falcon anymore. You just want him.
That's the name of that droid. Okay.
You just want to be him being cool, him wooing some chicks, and him playing some space poker, wearing some capes. You know what I mean? Have him like not pansexual because he's not that way at all in the original movies.
That is true. Yeah.
He's like definitely into girls. He's really into and then you look at the Lego movie where he's I guess that doesn't make any sense because he's hitting on Princess Leia. I don't know. We're not Princess Leia, Wild Style. Bro, I'm tripping. It's the end of the week. Thank you so much for listening this week. We'll be back most likely tomorrow for a YouTube exclusive. I'm going to say most likely because we're never 100% sure if there's going to be one.
That's big true facts.
But the chances that you're listening to the end of this episode and the YouTube exclusive, if you're watching, slim to none.
Slim.
So
right there.
Slim to none. So we'll see you tomorrow. We'll try to get it out on 6 a.m. If we don't get it at 6 a.m., bear with us. You can follow us on Instagram to get updates. If it's going to be late or whatever, we'll post that on Instagram. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening, we'll be back tomorrow on YouTube only. So if you're on Spotify, sorry, watch on YouTube. Peace.
See you guys.